We break down Whitney Webb's recent X posts and reposts, exposing new details and allegations about Pierre Omidyar, The Intercept, Glenn Greenwald, whistleblower betrayals, and the controversial shutdown of the Snowden archive. We'll highlight the wider context behind Webb's claims and show how her reporting, along with comments from Barrett Brown and WikiLeaks, raises serious questions about journalistic integrity, billionaire influence, and protection of sources. Here's what Whitney had to say. Hi at G. Greenwald. I find it very inaccurate that you would claim that I lied about your Snowden reporting, or really about you at all, as the articles and theories you are referring to are reports about The Intercept, how many of the whistleblowers who trusted The Intercept ended up in prison, some of whom thanks directly to other Intercept journalists they trusted, and how the Snowden archive was closed. Laura Poitras, who you mention in this video, was outraged about the archive being shuttered and said you and top staff did not even inform Snowden that it was being shut down. I am obviously aware that your underling Michael Tracy has made 2 very bad faith smears against me and other researchers in the Epstein case recently, taking 2 relatively minor errors I had already taken corrective action on, to try and discredit my 10-year body of work among other things. I can assure you that those mistakes are extremely rare in my work and they are not present in my articles on The Intercept, the content of which you paint as containing things that are provably false. I am posting links to all of my articles on the issue below. Please let me know what is provably false about them, and I will happily make a correction. Also, I am hardly the only journalist to have made these claims about the Snowden archive and The Intercept. Why are you singling me out? In this post, Webb is directly responding to Glenn Greenwald's public accusation that she lied about his reporting on the Snowden leaks. She defends her work, pointing out that her articles focus on The Intercept's handling of whistleblowers, many of whom ended up in prison, and the controversial closure of the Snowden archive. Webb references Laura Poitras, a co-founder of The Intercept, who was reportedly outraged that the archive was shut down without informing Snowden himself. Webb also addresses recent attempts to discredit her work and challenges Greenwald to specify any factual errors in her reporting, emphasizing that she is not alone in raising these concerns. Webb is providing links to her investigative reports on 3 main topics: the closure of the Snowden archive, the alleged burning of sources, meaning whistleblowers whose identities were exposed or who were not adequately protected, and other reports related to The Intercept and its funder, Pierre Omidyar. By sharing these links, Webb is inviting readers to review her evidence and analysis for themselves, promoting transparency and accountability in her reporting. WikiLeaks, who you voted to defund at FPF, tweeted this, by the way. Are you going to get on their case? In the past, this was your response to suggestions that Omidyar may have influenced The Intercept's handling of the Snowden archive even a tiny bit. Webb is questioning Greenwald's consistency regarding WikiLeaks and The Intercept. She points out that Greenwald voted to defund WikiLeaks at the Freedom of the Press Foundation and asks if he will criticize them, as he has criticized her. Webb also raises the issue of Pierre Omidyar's influence on The Intercept, suggesting that Greenwald has previously dismissed concerns that Omidyar, as the funder, may have affected the handling of the Snowden archive. This post highlights the ongoing debate about editorial independence and the influence of wealthy backers in media organizations. Barrett Brown tweets that Whitney notes Greenwald is depicting her as the sole source for the case that, at The Intercept, funded by Thiel partner Omidyar, betrayed whistleblowers. He can't admit her case derives partly from his own ex-contributors and may be found in my memoirs, vetted by lawyers from FSG. This repost points out that Greenwald is portraying Webb as the only journalist making claims about The Intercept betraying whistleblowers. However, the post clarifies that Webb's case is supported by former Intercept contributors and is documented in memoirs that have been legally vetted. This suggests that the criticisms of The Intercept's handling of whistleblowers are not isolated to Webb, but are shared by others with direct experience at the organization. Webb reposted Brown's tweet once again. Smart of him to block me given how much worse it gets. Weave, the threats against PayPal 14 defendants, hiring reporters best known for collaborating with FBI assets against me and other activists while we were facing prison. Fact that one Reality Winner reporter works for NYPD. This repost on X criticizes Greenwald for blocking critics and highlights a series of controversial actions, including hiring reporters with alleged ties to law enforcement or the FBI, and the involvement of a Reality Winner reporter now working for the NYPD. The post also references threats against activists and the PayPal 14 defendants. The overall message is that there are deeper issues with The Intercept's hiring practices and its treatment of whistleblowers and activists. Interesting. This is all popping off as my 2019 reporting on Peter Thiel, Epstein, and Ehud Barak's Carbine 911 was just ultra-vindicated by newly released emails. Webb notes the timing of the current controversy, pointing out that her 2019 investigative reporting on Peter Thiel, Jeffrey Epstein, and former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak's company Carbine 911 has been strongly validated by newly released emails. Carbine 911 is an Israeli tech company with ties to both Thiel and Epstein, raising concerns about surveillance, privacy, and elite networks. Webb's reporting on these connections was initially controversial, but has now been corroborated by new evidence, reinforcing her credibility as an investigative journalist. One of the first people to fly down to interview me upon my release from prison was neckbeard Epstein apologist at Matracy, whose patron Glenn Greenwald was still concealing his involvement with Epstein associate Peter Thiel. Not sure what to make of this. This post, reposted by Whitney Webb, refers to Brown's own experience after being released from prison.
Barrett has mercifully just been released from the confines of federal prison, and he has a lot to say about that endeavor. The circumstances which led to him being imprisoned are pretty convoluted and complex. And so the first question, which is sort of necessary, is although I'm sure you are a bit weary of recapitulating the details of the case which led you to being imprisoned, can you just do that in a perfunctory way that sort of synthesizes?
Brown points out that Michael Tracy, a journalist, was quick to interview him, but criticizes Tracy as an Epstein apologist. Brown also highlights that Tracy's patron, Glenn Greenwald, was allegedly concealing his connections to Peter Thiel, a tech billionaire known to have had associations with Jeffrey Epstein. The post raises questions about the relationships and possible conflicts of interest among journalists, activists, and powerful figures like Thiel and Epstein. Whitney Webb's decision to share this post signals her agreement or alignment with the concerns Brown is raising.
Hey everyone, we're almost at our funding goal. With $82,200 already raised, that's 96% funded. And with just 2 days left, this is your last chance to be part of the Other Side NDE, Only the Savvy, and Beyond the Veil network. Click the link below before it's too late.
Thank you for watching. We've explored Whitney Webb's recent posts and the controversies they address, from the fate of whistleblowers and the closure of the Snowden archive to the complex web of relationships between media, tech billionaires, and intelligence-linked companies. If you want to learn more, check the links provided in the video description for Webb's detailed investigative reports on these topics. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps us continue to bring you in-depth analysis of the stories that matter.